No more confusion. Fellow vets, today I'm going to fix where most of us go wrong in increasing our mental claims. I see this done inefficiently and incorrectly all the time, and today we're going to fix that to where you can successfully increase your mental rating with no extra energy, no extra effort, and have a high percentage win chance. I'm Jordan Anderson with VA Claims Academy. Let's get right into the meat and potatoes. Well, the first mistake that I see veterans making is that they're sitting there for years with a mental rating and not even knowing that they're rated suboptimally. Well, I'll let you know a very easy way to tell. If you're currently sitting there with a insomnia rating, which yes, insomnia is counted as a mental rating. If you have adjustment disorder, a lot of folks don't know, yes, adjustment disorder is a mental rating. PTSD, anxiety, major depressive disorder, you name it. If you're sitting there and you are less than a 70% rating, yes, you heard that right, less than a 70% rating for your mental condition, that means that you are rated below average. Now, not everyone, has the condition to where they match the 70% threshold. However, just know if you are rated less than 70%, you're rated lower than average, and there could be room for an increase. Let me show you what the 70% threshold looks like, because a lot of people think that it's some lofty goal. Well, here's what it is directly from 38 CFR, straight from the horse's mouth, the VA themselves. So you'll notice that there is some room for interpretation here. There's some ambiguity. You want ambiguities for how you could interpret this, but nonetheless, occupational and social impairment. Gosh, that's worth saying again. Occupational and social impairment with deficiencies in most areas such as work, school, family, relations, judgment, thinking, mood, due to symptoms such as self-harm ideation, obsessive rituals which interfere with routine activities, maybe your speech is intermittently illogical, obscure or irrelevant, near continuous panic, depression affecting the ability to function independently. It goes on and on and on. But you know why some of these don't matter? Because if we back up, it says due to symptoms such as, and you get a colon. And that's where so many vets get it wrong, because they're looking at this list of symptoms and saying, hey, oh wow, maybe I don't want to harm myself and things like that, so this doesn't sound like me. Well, the key to increasing your rating is those first two words. What did we say? Social and occupational impairment. So how is it impairing you in your work life? How is it impairing you in your social life with your spouse, maybe your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your kids, or just your friends? Maybe you've had deteriorating friendships. Telling your story that's true to you and not trying to match it to this arbitrary list of symptoms that the VA themselves is saying don't even necessarily have to be, matching, right? Because it says such as. Otherwise, it would say matching, right? It would say the following symptoms. So this is where many vets go wrong. I'm going to show you now how to articulate this properly to the VA so that you can get a rating increase very quickly. Well, the first step, as always, is setting yourself up for success with your medical evidence. So in this case, it means if you have a mental rating and you haven't been to the doctor in a while, check back into the doctor. Get yourself back on paper to where you're getting treated and updated treatment, so that way, again, you're applying for an increase. The VA is going to want to see that you're getting treated as of lately. So if you don't have a doctor's appointment, I would say comfortably within the last 3 months, get treated first, get that on paper, and then you'll be ready for step 2. By the way, halt really quickly. If you've been zoning out, come back to me here. This is very important. If you are thinking that you have a current, mental rating, and you think that the way to increase that mental rating is to add another mental condition, you're wrong, okay? So if you have a mental rating and you think that increasing your rating means adding another mental condition, that's really not the way to go about it, most likely. Here's what I mean by that. I've had some clients, who've had PTSD, and they think that adding their diagnosed major depressive disorder to their existing service-connected PTSD claim is a way to boost that rating. Nothing's further from the truth. This is important. all mental conditions that you have are balled up into one single mental rating. So throwing another condition at that just gets absorbed into your existing mental rating. The only way to increase your mental rating is by conveying your worsened occupational and social impairment as a result of your mental conditions. So here's how I would strategize, and how I did with that client who had PTSD and had major depressive disorder also that they wanted to claim. I said, you know what, no, let's go ahead and frame these depression symptoms as being downstream of this PTSD event. So you're still able to talk about these, hey, I feel depressed, I feel, a flattened effect, and it's due to this combat-related environment, combat-related stressor. So be very careful about how you strategize your increase as to not churn your wheels for no reason like most folks would do, okay? Step 2 is important because this is where you're going to get your story on paper. And I say this all the time to clients or even here on YouTube. You don't want to tell the VA, you want to present to the VA. What's the difference? Right now, I'm presenting to you, the audience. I'm presenting to you. That means I'm cognizant of my body language, maybe the words that I'm using, because I'm cognizant of the fact that there are, you watching me on the other side. I'm not just telling you. If I was just telling you, maybe I would be using jargon and all these things, and I'm not taking care of who's on the other side. So what this means is we got to put ourselves in the rater's shoes. We know that the VA rater is looking at our story through the lens of something very defined, which is that 38 CFR criteria. So in order to properly translate your true story into what the VA needs to hear, you need to get your story on paper, meaning a personal statement. This is done with form 4138. And we are talking about specifically how your work life and how your social life has been impacted by this mental condition. Most of the time, I would probably say 80+% of the time, veterans are sitting there with a low mental rating simply because they did not file a personal statement. And a lot of times it's been more than a decade that they've been underrated. And it stinks to look at that because that has cost that veteran's household thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Don't let that be you for a day longer. Submit a personal statement and it should look a little something like this. First of all, get over the writer's block. My name is Jordan Anderson and I served in Air Force from year to year, right? Now you're already started. Congrats, you started your personal statement. That's literally how I would start out most of my personal statements. It gets the momentum going. You're already part of the way through. Next, I would say I have a current VA rating for major depressive disorder. I have not correctly outlined the severity of my symptoms. Here's how this affects me in a day-to-day basis. Then I would go through some of my symptoms. It makes me feel like, I don't want to get up in the morning sometimes. It's hard to get motivated to do things. Whatever your symptoms are, I would use the rest of that first paragraph to sort of list the symptoms. The second paragraph should probably look like, it affects me at work because I report late into the office. I've been written up 3 times. I don't know how long I can hold the job and continue this because of this, this, and that. And then separate it out again. Next paragraph. Here's how it affects me in my relationships. My wife doesn't really want to spend time with me anymore. I'm not motivated to go out on dates with her. We have a tough time. We argue. I've lost friendships because of this. When you break it down by paragraph, it makes it really easy. One, for the VA rater who is reading this, and yes, you are speaking directly to your VA rater, the person who's making the decision on your claim when you write a personal statement. And 2, it helps it break it down for you, the person writing it, because you can clearly see, okay, hey, I've got my occupational impairment covered here. In my symptoms, first paragraph, I got that covered. Now I clearly need my social impairment. Very easy, make it bite-sized for you. And lastly, the final tip for your personal statement, you've listed the symptoms, you've listed the social impairment, the occupational impairment. Now, keep it short. So other than that, we already sort of covered, based on 38 CFR, that really is all that is relevant into how you're rated. So I know that it's very tempting to continue to go on and sort of write your life story, but you got to think, you don't want your rater to be skimming this because they're looking at a wall of text. You want to deliver them a surgical strike on what you need to convey and to present, right? So again, we're not telling, we're presenting, and that means refining, reducing, and boiling it down to where it's only, all killer, no thriller, so to speak. So if you find that you're going longer than 2 pages, that means that you need to trim, because I promise you, not all of that is relevant to how you are rated specifically. Now, finally, step 3. And by the way, if you found value in this video, do me a favor, hit the like button, sound off with your thoughts below, and share this with someone who needs it most importantly. Final step. Once you have your personal statement in hand, you could even make yourself, I call it a cheat sheet, but essentially in a further reduced version of that personal statement, where you're essentially taking 1 bullet of social impairment, 1 bullet of occupational impairment, and maybe 1 major symptom that you've had, and you're just putting that on, I call it a cheat sheet. Here's the reason why. When you go through your compensation and pension exam, this is the examination it's like the Super Bowl, right, of your VA claim. This is the big day for you that you need to really convey your story, because the examiner is going to be filling out your DBQ on this day. Now, it can be very overwhelming going in there and trying to remember your whole personal statement. It's kind of impossible, right? So I highly encourage you to take 1 bullet of each from your personal statement and bring that in with you. Print it out, bring it with you to your C&P exam so you can glance at it. You can present this to the examiner as well as like, hey, I hope you don't mind, I brought a couple of notes right here to make your job easier. When I get nervous, I can get really flustered and forget everything. So I would write 1 major symptom that you've had. For instance, I had a client who said he was basically so out of it that he walked through the streets and essentially cars had to slam on their brakes because he was just wandering off. That's a major mental symptom. That's one to not forget at your C&P exam. Boom, write it down. Someone, hey, I have so bad insomnia, but it's only rated at 50%, but I got fired from my job because I fell asleep on the job. That's a major occupational impairment bullet. Write that one down. Social, my wife divorced me because of this, and that. This mental symptom, that's a major social impairment bullet. Write it down. Bring that, just boom, 1, 2, 3. You can glance on it, and then that way, worst case scenario, if you completely blank at your C&P exam, you still knock it out of the park. Those are the 3 steps. That is the correct way to strategize and execute a mental increase, and it is extremely high success rate, and I think at this point, you know why. Again, I'm Jordan Anderson with VA Claims Academy. I hope this helped. Share this with someone who needs it, and cheers to you. Bye-bye.